This video gives you a step-by-step process for effectively replacing the spinner motor seal on your new leader equipment. Before beginning the replacement process or working on any equipment, always be sure to wear protective eyewear and use the proper tools. You should also thoroughly clean the entire unit to minimize any potential contamination. Several components may need to be removed to gain access to the spinner seal. Begin by removing the upper spinner guard and material divider. Do not remove the spinner motor as it is currently fastened to a secure fixture, making the replacement easier. Now, remove the hub retaining bolt from the top of the motor shaft and spray penetrating oil between the spinner hub and motor shaft. Let the penetrating oil work for a few minutes. Using two pry bars, pry the spinner disc assembly off of the spinner shaft. If the spinner disc assembly will not move, apply heat to the spinner hub. If the hub moves upward slightly and stops, reapply penetrating oil and tap the hub down. Again, apply penetrating oil and pry the disc upwards using two pry bars. Be sure to clean the retainer area to prevent any debris from entering the motor. Now, remove the shaft key. Making a small groove on the top of the key will help in the key removal process. Bend the retainer lip out of the locking notch in the motor body using a hammer and punch. Carefully remove the retainer from the motor. This is best accomplished by using a spanner wrench. Remove the O-ring from the motor housing. Finally, be sure to clean the motor and retainer before reassembly. Once the retainer and O-ring have been removed, you can carefully remove the motor shaft assembly by pulling upward on the shaft. Now is a good time to inspect the component pieces to make sure everything is in good operable condition. First, inspect the snap ring and thrust washer below the bearings. Be sure to replace these parts if necessary, as these parts may get damaged from prying off the spinner hub. Now, inspect the shaft and bearings for rust or pitting. Replace, if necessary, by removing the snap ring and thrust washer. It is recommended that you use a hydraulic press to push out the old shaft. You'll want to inspect the retainer assembly for rust or damage also. If the retainer is damaged, install a new retainer assembly with fresh pressure and dirt seals. If reusing the retainer, remove the old seals and install the new seals using a new leader driver tool. Now that the new seals and other necessary parts have been replaced, you are ready to reassemble the spinner motor. Begin by installing the shaft assembly into the motor housing. Install a new O-ring in the groove of the motor housing. To protect the seals from damage during the installation process, seal installation sleeve will be required. Lube the seals with grease and slide the seal through the assembled retainer from the top side. Now, slide the sleeve with the seals and retainer over the motor shaft until the sleeve rests firmly against the shoulder of the shaft. While holding the sleeve firmly against the shoulder, Push the retainer and seals from the sleeve onto the motor shaft. Keep the sleeve firmly pressed against the shoulder until the threads are well started, and then withdraw the sleeve. Tighten down the retainer assembly into the motor for a snug fit. Then, securely lock the retainer by peening the lip into the notch in the motor housing. The shaft key can now be installed. Apply high-temp grease to the top of the motor and install a new rubber disc. Also apply anti-seize to the motor shaft and spinner hub, and install the spinner disc assembly. The retaining bolt can now be replaced. Install the material divider, making sure to center it over the spinner discs. Finish by installing the upper spinner guard. This is the proper method for resealing the spinner motor. Remember, regular maintenance and service is key to the longevity of your equipment. To keep your equipment running smoothly and efficiently, always use genuine new leader replacement parts. New leader parts are made from the finest materials and meet our high, exacting standards. If you have any questions or problems during this installation, please contact the New Leader Service Department at 1-800-363-1771.